This collapse by Auburn will be talked about for a very long time.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We are dapping it up with Montgomery radio legend Darrell Dapprich joining us live from Jordan-Hare Stadium right after Hugh Freeze and the media availability stuff wrapped up. Darrell, Auburn drops a heartbreaker, 27-21 to Oklahoma in a game where Auburn had the lead 21-10. They rip off a chunk play, and it really felt like there was this collective throughout the fan base saying, okay, awesome. Auburn's about to get a big win over a ranked opponent. Maybe we can kind of put the whole Cal and Arkansas thing behind us. This collapse will be discussed for a very, very long time in the same kind of whispered tones of blowing the 28-3 lead to Mississippi State a few years ago. I mean, it feels like it's just such a fluky way to lose, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Auburn's finding different ways to lose football games. This one was so unique because up until about 8-9 minutes left to go in the football game, they were doing everything they needed to do to win. And you thought you had, like you said, you thought you had that big win at home against the ranked team. Auburn was better than Oklahoma today. And I know this is such a beating a dead horse. It was not as many self-inflicted wounds, but it was still missed opportunities and shooting yourself in the foot. And At the end of the day, I mean, Auburn outplayed Oklahoma. They outgained Oklahoma by a large margin. The vaunted Oklahoma defense, almost gives up 500 yards to Auburn. That's the most frustrating part.
Yeah, and you just said it,
right there.
Yeah, how many people all year have said how good Oklahoma's defense was? We talked about it all week, and that's actually like a big reason why I picked Oklahoma to win this game. But Auburn put up 482 yards on Oklahoma. It's not like this team is stinking it up on offense. I mean, Auburn has had some anemic offenses in the last decade, and they'll lose these games 27-21, and it'd be like, oh, that was heartbreaking, or maybe they get a garbage time touchdown and make it close or something like that. This isn't that, and it wasn't that against Arkansas. And it wasn't this against Cal. It was the offense it's explosive, it's dynamic. I think it throws a lot into defense, and Auburn moves the football. But when you get to the red zone and you turn it over on downs and you throw pick sixes and one-score ball games when your veteran quarterback who's played college football for a very long time doesn't get what the head coach is apparently telling him, and we'll get to some of Hugh Freeze's comments in a second. It's just like I don't know what you're supposed to do at this point.
Well, the other thing, you had one turnover. It ended up being just an absolute killer because it went.
I don't know how you don't count a turnover on downs in the red zone as not a turnover, but sure.
Yeah, I was going to say you had the one turnover and then you had 10 points you left on the field, the not being able to score from the one. And then I'm sorry, Towns Magoo, you got to hit a 27-yard field goal, especially when you got new life after missing the 32-yard field goal. And I know the kid's been good all year. I don't blame him on the 51-yarder, but you got to hit a 27-yarder.
Yeah, and I mean, and he had two attempts as well. That going into half.
Well, Auburn had chances. I mean, Oklahoma hurt themselves a lot too with the penalties and some of the untimely penalties, and then the pass interference play they got called on Auburn on KeAndre looked like that ball was uncatchable. I don't even remember if Oklahoma got points out of that, but Oklahoma did some things to extend some drives for Auburn. But that being said, Auburn looked crisp. Payton Thorne looked really, really good for a very long time in this football game. Made the right reads, made some nice throws. Jarquez Hunter had 97 yards. Right, but only touched it 18 times. I'd have liked to see him if he gets it 22 or 23 times. Auburn may win the football game. That's the thing I'm getting tired of. Just to be honest with you, I'm going to be fully transparent. I'm sick and tired of saying Auburn could have won the football game. I can understand this if they looked like crap on offense, or if defensively they were giving up chunks and chunks. They held Oklahoma under 300 yards.
Right.
And they did give up a couple of explosive plays where they lost contain and Oklahoma. But at the end of the day, you can't blame the defense that gave up, 20 total, because the pick six was against the defensive touchdown. Everything that they needed to do and game plan wise and all that was absolutely coming to fruition until they got stupid and did stupid things again and collapsed late. And, that's same old song, game in, game out.
Yeah. This one I think is going to be a little more, I guess, hard to control from a locker room standpoint than the first two. Because it's like, I can't imagine how frustrating this is to be a talent. I mean, KeAndre Lambert-Smith has been nothing short of incredible. Jarquez Hunter, I don't know how he's happy with what's going on or content with this. If you're a player and Payton Thorne is asking you to do something, I don't know how you listen to him. I mean, there's just a lot of, there's going to be a lot of conversations that are had this week about the future of this season, potentially about the future of if they're going to stay at Auburn. To me, this is going to be one that could kill your season. And I don't know how Hugh Freeze and this coaching staff deal with it. But I mean, let's don't be dumb here. Auburn's 2-3 going into Georgia, when the whole conversation all summer and spring was, can you find a way to be 4-1 or 5-0 going into Georgia? And you're nowhere close to it. As far as wins and losses, but the frustrating thing is you were productive. It's just these freaking turnovers that you can't go a full game without having one that costs you a game. I don't know how Hugh Freeze manages the personalities of this roster right now.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those games that you lose the locker room over. You can lose the season. I mean, Demarcus Riddick came in and finally played at a high level. Cam Coleman played really well. But at the end of the day, you and I talked about it earlier in the week that it looked like Oklahoma's strategy with the freshman quarterback would be just wait it out, stay close, and let Auburn implode. And that's exactly what happened. Auburn up 4 late, driving, third down, they imploded. I mean, I really felt like when Jarquez broke that long run off, and even when Auburn was up 4, I thought, okay, they're going to put the game away here and maybe get another field goal or something, but they're going to run so much time off the clock that it's going to be a little too late, especially the way Auburn's defense was playing.
Yeah, when Jalen McLeod got that sack on 4th and long, that really felt like it was it. And then Auburn got a first down after that, and then it was all Oklahoma. All Oklahoma. I mean, let's think back to our picks when we were given our score predictions, and we both said, I think we both said 23-17, 24-17, something like that, and we differed on the team. So we were pretty close as far as the point spread. But my thing was I just felt like in a key situation, I didn't trust Auburn's offense because they were going to turn it over. Did I think it would be a pick six? No. Did I think it'd be a situation where you'd probably set Oklahoma up with a short field? Yeah. And until they go a full game without doing something dumb, I'm just not banking on it at this point. I mean, it's just amazing to me how lopsided these stats are. Total yards, 482 to 291. So we're almost 200 yards difference. You had double their passing yards, 338 to 162, rushing 144 to 130. You had fewer penalties than them for fewer yards. You had 26 first downs to their 11. The time of possession was insane, 35 minutes to 24 minutes. There's just nothing. You ran almost 30 more plays than them. I mean, Darrell, there's nothing about this that says Auburn should have lost this game, but it's just lack of presence and lack of being able to have any sort of composure. It bits you.
The 17-point swing is why you lost that game when you just read, when you don't kick 27-yard field goals and you don't score from the 1 and you allow somebody to have a 63-yard pick six, you lose games that you should win, just like you lose games you should win when you turn it over 5 or 6 times. It's the same symptom or it's the same problem with different symptoms. It's the same sickness, but instead of a cough one day, it's a runny nose the next day. That's the problem. And I don't know how you keep a locker room together. I don't know how people don't start jumping.
Normally, I would say you switch quarterbacks is normally what I would say. I don't know if it has that same effect if you do it twice. I don't know.
Well, I'm just going to say this. I love Hank Brown, but up until that pick six,
Payton looked great.
I don't know if Hank Brown would have looked that good. And he did it with his legs, too. The sack yardage is why Payton Thorne's numbers look so bad, but he ran the ball hard and effectively. He was a maestro until that pick six. In fact, my question for Hugh Freeze in the press conference was going to be.
I want to get to that in a second. I'm
saying it was going to be.
It would be. Okay.
It would have been all year long. You've just wanted Payton to not lose you the game. What does it feel like to finally have him win you a game? Because that's what would have happened. If Auburn wins this game and he doesn't throw the pick six, he would have been the integral part of winning the football game.
Let's get into some of Hugh Freeze's comments because some of it just doesn't make sense to me. Let's jump into that in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sports book. You can start the season big with the NFL as FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, if you feel good about a certain team being a second half team, you can check the latest stats and live bet it. You can also view live play-by-play and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's win or lose. All you have to do is place your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel's America's #1 sportsbook. Darrell, when you look at some of Freeze's comments, he's asked about Payton Thorne. And some of the stuff he's saying, like, I think it's all true. We're like, what do you say to Payton Thorne? He's like, I just tell him that I love him. And, we move on and we coach him and whatever. And he was super apologetic and super defensive of him, saying like, it's on me. It's on the coaching staff for not putting him in that situation. It almost feels like an overcorrection of last week. Do you think that's fair to say?
Absolutely. He did make a couple of pointed comments about the loving. You just got to love him. That's fine. He did say that. He also said that he should not have put him in that situation on the pick six and called that play.
Yeah.
Auburn on 3rd and 12 ran a sprint draw to Jarquez Hunter and picked up 13 yards. And Oklahoma gave the exact same defensive front on that interception, except that the linebacker that picked it off did a little thing where he chipped the tight end, like covered the tight end and then backed off. Don't put him in that situation. Just tell him, run the ball there, to Jarquez. And at the end of the day, you're punting from the 40-yard line, pinning them back up 4 with 4 minutes to go. But then he said this. He said, I asked the question why it was with about 10 minutes left to go in the game, Auburn was only able to burn 1 minute and 30 seconds off the clock after picking up a first down.
Yeah.
And he said, because in the RPO, we should have run it and we chose to throw it.
Unbelievable. So this to me is inexcusable for 2 different reasons. One is, and we've talked about this, the everydayers know this. We've talked about this a ton. I'm starting to get people reach out now within the program. This will be good. We'll have more stuff tomorrow for sure. The whole RPO thing where it's like, okay, they're reading based off of how many guys are in the box and all of that stuff. We don't have just normal run plays. And I've asked, they do have normal run calls. And how do you not just call those in that situation? If you don't want the pass to be a part of it, just call those. The other thing is within helmet communication, why don't you just tell them, hey, give it to Damari or Jarquez, whoever's standing next to him behind center. It's like just hey, make sure you give this ball to him. Is that not? How is that not a thing? I'm hesitant to believe that. Am I crazy for those 2 reasons?
No, I saw 5 or 6 plays where Auburn was under center. That's not an RPO. And they swept the ball to Jarquez or Austin. I'd have liked to have seen that, up 4 with 4 minutes to go and make Oklahoma. I mean, look, let's not. Auburn gashed Oklahoma. They ran it at will, and when they had guys open, they threw it effectively. And yet, when it came to crunch time, they couldn't get out of their own way. I agree with you. You know they have run plays that are just nothing but run plays, even if you have to go under center. The toss sweep was working. The sprint draw under center was working. I don't know. I've run out of. I asked the question. I get the answers. I've just run out of adjectives to describe how stupid, how Auburn finds stupid ways to lose football games. You could almost try to lose that game tonight and still come along and win it. Really.
So Justin Ferguson of the Auburn Observer tweeted this out. Per game on paper, I think it's an analytics site. Auburn's win probability after Jarquez Hunter's 22-yard run, that's the chunk play where we talked about, where everybody had that collective sigh of relief of like, oh, we're going to do it. With a little over 11 minutes left to go in the game. You want to guess what the win probability was? According to
88%?
96.5%. It's hard
There's a couple of games. Yeah, that's hard to swallow because there were some games last year where the win probability was in the 90s, and
4th and 31.
Yep.
The whole Georgia thing. It's just sickening.
You cannot as a football program continue to lose games when you are in the 90 percentile probability. You can't. Unacceptable, unexcusable, period. Mm-hmm. The teams that sucked for Auburn, that bounced back, that went through some growing pains, the 2008 team, the 2012 team, they never got in that situation. They were bad from gun to whistle. And so this is where it's really frustrating because you don't – as somebody who's covered Auburn and has followed Auburn for years, I've never seen anything like this. Historically, never. Have seen Auburn lose games the way they're losing them while dominating in other facets of the game.
Yeah, this isn't just a total level of ineptitude that we've seen, a few of those years during Gus and then the Harsin second year where there was just no offensive identity.
Ineptitude. Gus Malzahn never had a losing season, never lost games that he really should have lost or should have won up late in games.
And he had offenses
and went to a bowl.
But never and he several years didn't have offenses that did this. As far as just total yardage production.
Some of those Gus teams, offenses that put up these kind of stats, he'd have went to a couple more playoff appearances, period. Yeah. End of story. So, again, ineptitude, we used to think ineptitude was 7-5 and beating Memphis in the Birmingham Bowl. No, it's historically, this run right now that Auburn's on for 3 years is unprecedented because they can't get out of the gutter. They normally, historically, turn it around after 2 years. And right now, unless a miracle happens involving holy water and praying, I don't see how Auburn gets to 6 wins.
No, this was it. This was it. And I also think some of the quote unquote toss-up games that you had, you can still win. But after losing on Saturday, I just don't know how this locker room keeps it together. I hope I'm wrong, just like I hope I was going to be wrong all week about this game. And I thought I was going to be.
I felt more confident.
96% chance.
Dude, I can't explain to you, from walking around the stadium pre-kickoff to getting in the press box through 3.5 quarters, I've never felt like this is sure about winning a game, and then they ended up losing the game. I mean, I'm not, Nostradamus or crystal ball, but I felt so good about this game.
Yeah, Darrell, I talked about this when I went live right after the game, where before the game, my wife or my family and I, we ran some errands, went to Alumni Hall, shout out. And then we met some friends that were in town for the game for lunch. there's just so much energy. People saying War Eagle to each other. It's like, gosh, I hope we take care of the football. Like, this would be a huge win. There was so much buzz. You would have never have thought that Auburn was a 2-2 team going into it. And then, I mean, you were there. I always saw it on TV and some videos on socials, but like, it seemed like Jordan Hare was pretty, I mean, the fans did their part again. Shocker. The fans stepped up. The whole orange out thing, it looked pretty electric there. That's just how they're rewarded.
That narrative, I get what you're saying, but I keep hearing stuff from people that, we know that are national media and media about Auburn deserves better and Auburn fans deserve better. And they come out and support this team. I get that to a certain point, but that's what you're supposed to do if you're a fan. It's not about doing it conditionally. If you love Auburn and you want, and you have Auburn in your blood, there's not an entitlement to, well, I'm cheering hard for you, so by God, you better win. I'm a little tired of that narrative. I'm not being ugly when I say that.
I disagree though.
It's frustrating, but I get it.
The whole thing is structured with like you've got to give for NIL now, and we keep hearing how Auburn's killing it with NIL, and we hear you're like, okay, season tickets go up every single year, but we're going to build better facilities, and we built this brand new football only facility, and like fans are paying with that with tickets, donors are paying for that with with given money. So I don't know if I fully buy that. And also, like, sure, that happens everywhere. South Carolina fans are doing that, or Mississippi State fans are doing that. Teams that aren't like expecting to like really compete for championships. Meanwhile, Auburn's head coach, who's kind of leading this charge both internally and externally, and he's saying this at his first ever presser, and if he said it several times since then, Auburn's one of however many schools who have played in 2 national championships since 2010. Like Auburn, like they're talking as if they want to compete for championships and we need your support. That's the messaging. And they're getting it. They're getting the support, supposedly. And this is what we get. So we may have to agree to disagree on that.
I get it, but if you stop with the support and you stop coming to the games and you stop giving NIL, then you're even going to fall further in the recesses of the. I mean, remember now, and this was pre-NIL, but Miami, Tennessee, Ole Miss, some other schools went through the valley and came out on the other side. Tennessee had to hire 4 coaches before they got it right. I get that, but at Auburn, that typically doesn't happen. No. Again, it's 2 years and then bam, it's turned around and there's hope. I'm seeing things on the field that I haven't seen offensively in a long time.
Right.
And yet they're still losing games. I'm seeing players like Riddick and some of these other guys really, you're like, oh my gosh, that's an NFL guy right there. The way he went sideline, and yet they're losing games. So that's where I think there's just no rhyme or reason. And when the head coach comes into a press conference and says the same thing, has no explanation, this is one of the most frustrating losses that I've ever been a part of, covering, following, whatever. I didn't feel like Auburn, even though they turned it over and could have won the game against Arkansas, I didn't feel like they deserved to win the game against Arkansas or Cal because of the turnovers. This game, everything was lining up, and you're going, you're checking every box on what you need to do to win, even defensively. If you told me you held Oklahoma under 300 yards, now they didn't get any turnovers, that would have been nice. Nobody anticipates, Magoo missing 2 field goals. That hurts. Not being able to score from the 1 hurts. I didn't have that on my bingo card, but I also didn't have Payton Thorne throwing for 333 and 3 touchdowns on my bingo card either. I mean, that's where there's just no. It doesn't make sense. Help it make sense for me, Zach, because I can't. It just doesn't.
It's tough. It's tough to deal with. All right, I do want to focus on a few positive things that would have been the story if Auburn had held on to this one. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at GameTime. GameTime is the best app to buy tickets on, point blank. They've got the GameTime price match guarantee. It's going to be the lowest price tickets if you can find tickets they're in the same section or row elsewhere, they're going to give you like 120% of the difference. So go and check them out. Darrell, you use GameTime for every event that you go to.
They came
as
through
do I.
big time for me this week. As everybody knows, the storm came through. I had Mets Braves tickets. They took care of me and handled it. Within 15 minutes, they refunded it because of, back-to-back games being canceled. And so they really did step up to the plate and handled it for me.
Yeah, that's so great. So go and check out our friends at GameTime. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. What time is it? It's game time. If Auburn wins this game, I think the story that we're talking about is Demarcus Riddick and how dominant he was everywhere. Demarcus Riddick was electric on Saturday against Oklahoma. And there were several true freshmen that stood out. Caleb Harris continues to just be around the football more and more. Malik Blockton continues to impress me. And then, Cam Coleman, of course, and Malcolm Simmons, obviously with a great grab. I think the future of how these young guys are stepping up and Auburn's turning the corner with these young guys, that would have been the storyline if it wasn't for the pick six.
Absolutely. It would have been these guys are going to forge Auburn and lead the way for Auburn the rest of the season as they now have a path to get to 7 wins and have a decent season. That, to me, was what it was lining up to be, because you would have seen hope. You'd have seen, enthusiasm. You'd have seen optimism. It was all there. And, again, the way Thorne played would have been something to hang your hat on going to Georgia, saying, okay, he's figured some things out. The receivers are playing so much better.
Yeah,
Georgia offensive line was pounding people, and every time they would pick up 7-8 yards, I'd see Wright and Miller and those guys pumping their fist.
Yep.
So fired up. That's the other thing, is the emotion and the effort was all on Auburn's side. Oklahoma was ready to fold their tent. Auburn gave them life.
Yep, they did. They certainly did. Yeah, and you're totally right. I think there would have been some narratives if Auburn holds on to that. Georgia barely beats Kentucky, which maybe Kentucky's better than we think after the win against Ole Miss. We're recording this right now, and it's about to end the first quarter. Alabama is wrecking Georgia. They're up 21-0 right now. And so, we don't know how that game ends, but if that holds to be somewhat consistent, I think there's a narrative there. But that's gone. That's gone. I don't know.
Think about if Auburn had won this game last night, and then Georgia gets boat raced by Alabama. You go into Athens next Saturday a lot more confident. I'm sorry, you just do.
No question.
And with feeling like, hey, we got to, especially, but again, Kentucky, who I felt like was a toss-up game. I don't know if I feel that way now after the way they played against Georgia and beat Ole Miss at Ole Miss in Oxford. Texas A&M and Arkansas. I don't know. End up with while we're recording. I don't know what that score ended up being. It was close during the game. So that's one that Texas A&M could have flipped to a game you could have felt like you could have been favored in.
Yeah, A&M won 21-17. So, I don't think they're a great team, but
either. But we'll.
It's just how is this team going to develop over the course of the season? You can only get it doesn't matter if you're as talented or whatever. By that point of the season, you've already got 8 losses.
I'm concerned about 2 things that you said that scare me, spook me as we get ready to get into the month of Halloween. This locker room staying together and people not jumping ship and saying, we saw what happened with UNLV last week with 2 players. Now it was for different reasons, but redshirting and getting in the portal. How does he not lose this locker room? And then the second thing is, let's have the real talk about keeping this recruiting class together.
Yeah.
I know there's that narrative that says, hey, look at how we're performing from a statistic standpoint. Come help put us over the top. You can play right away.
Yeah, and some kids will love that, but there are going to be some kids that say, no, I want to win a championship. I don't know you can do that.
Yeah, I don't want to lose 7 games, right? But you better start playing some freshmen if that's going to be the narrative. Zach, for the rest of the year. You better start playing some kids. To me, I you know what, and I should have asked this question, is what we saw tonight from Demarcus Riddick, why the crap did it take so long to get him significant snaps 5 games into the year?
I'm with you. I think you could say the same thing about Malcolm Simmons.
Yeah. I don't want to hear, well, they're not ready. Well, so what? In 1 week, a light bulb went on? I mean, come on. I don't know. I'm tired of the coach speak, and I should have asked that question. I asked
this show's already gone long, but I just got to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
Sam Jackson, Wildcat quarterback, red zone.
It sounded like a good idea in theory, but once it didn't work on the very first play,
from the 6,
put Thorne back in to where there's at least an option. Look what happened late in the game when he made the touchdown pass to Deal.
Yeah.
Thorne was in the game. The only time Auburn scored from the red zone was when Thorne was in the game. And so I would have just, handed off to Hunter. Or guess what? Oh, by the way, Thorne's an effective runner.
That's my thing. That's kind of the area where he's been pretty good with his legs. Like, why would you take that away from him? Or like, if you're going into a play like, I know we're going to run it, just give it to Hunter. Like, the lack of desire to give it to Jarquez Hunter in key situations, I will never understand it.
Yeah.
Load in the box, I don't care. You're telling me in a goal line where there's as many guys on the line of scrimmage as you could possibly get, and you're going with a 170-pound guy versus Jarquez Hunter?
Go heavy package. Put 2 tight ends in. Put Sean Jackson in the lead block. You can get helmet on helmet and still Hunter can score.
Yeah, you can. 100%. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Under a Bridge. I'm just joking. Dap, nice. 6410 on X. Darrell Dapp on Instagram. And with you 3 times a week, Wednesday, Fridays, and our reaction show.
Yep. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.